What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Live at the Roxy. The second we decide to start is the second that my guest decides to take a sip of his drink. That is exactly how we do it here on this show. It's been an interesting day, and we're talking about a couple different things because Robert Downey Jr. is having a birthday. I feel bad for anybody who has a birthday during this time, but we're going to highlight him and talk about some of our favorite RDJ moments. And also, it is a day that Louis C.K. decided to drop a comedy special. So there is that, but I can't do this conversation alone. Coming over from Action Industries, of course, it is Ben Bateman in the house.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? I'm here. I'm very excited. Thank you for inviting me to Live at the Rocks. It's a real real cool lounge vibe from what I understand. So I wore a t-shirt and I just decided to take it real easy, real cool, smooth.
Well, I have so many comments on that. Well, not just any t-shirt, but an amazing t-shirt. I love every time you wear that. Shout out to Emma McAllister.
Shout out to Dollface, yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah. And also, the more you say that this is like a cool atmosphere, the less cool you sound.
I get that.
So just try to be chill.
Yeah.
Just like try to be real hip.
Yep.
Try to be real. Well, what did I find out about you the other day that was like the most hip and least hip thing that I'd ever. Oh, it was the Too Short stuff.
Oh yeah, love Too Short. Too Short.
I was unaware of that. Ben Bateman knows all of the words to Too Short songs. That was a new one for me to find out myself.
The song "Getting It." If you guys have never heard that one, it's really good. I'm a big fan. I listen to it with frequency.
If Drew was currently engineering this show, would he be able to play that song live right now?
Yes, except that playing licensed music is a bad move because then your streams get flagged. We had to learn the hard way.
But he physically would be able to figure out how to do that.
Yes, that's exactly correct. He would probably, yep.
As opposed to you and I, who cannot do this to save our frickin' lives right now.
Speak for yourself. I'm wonderful with technology.
Okay, fans of both Live at the Roxy and all things that Ben does on Action Industries, please, just like a quick show of bunnies versus hearts. Bunnies if Roxy's better at technology. Hearts if Ben is better at technology. I'm pretty sure we know where this is going to end up. And I know what Jake Yacovetta's opinion is going to be. Also, I have a feeling I know what PLD's opinion is going to be, but you guys weigh in right now. And while you guys are weighing in, I do want to get to a couple of these super chats that are coming in nice and early. Thank you guys for being in here. Larry Lee says, come on, rock stars, hit that like button. Appreciate it, Larry, especially everything you're going through right now. I appreciate your support in here. It means the world to me. And yes, I love when you pimp out my stream so I don't have to. So please hit that like button. I really appreciate it. It helps more people find the Rockstars band, which is V important, as the cool kids say. Ben, have you picked up that lingo yet? It's V important.
You say it and you're cool, and I often have learned what is cool from you, so I say V sometimes, but usually only when I'm around you.
Glenn Caesar says, Roxy, your PLD comment in last night's stream made me want to listen to MJ's PYT, which I did, and now I've got that song stuck in my head. That happens to me all the time, but that's what I always think of when I hear any three letters that start with P, but also shout out to PLD. Looking at the results of this very, very, technically sound poll. There's no room for error in a poll of bunnies and hearts.
Correct.
And I will say you are getting more hearts than I thought you would, but for the most part, bunnies slay right now. Zeno Hour, Larry Lees, Jake Yacovetta, Eduardo Perez, Brandy Parker, Glenn Caesar, Amy, King Sport Cow. We got a lot of bunnies going on. So I'm pretty sure I am the tech wizard and you are a tech lizard. I don't know what that means.
I didn't realize that if I lost this one, I was going to be a lizard.
Well, it kind of sounded like a loser. Cool people make up their own lingo, Ben. You'll get used to it one of these days.
I'm a tech lizard. Okay.
You are such a tech lizard. Ew.
Tech lizard. That's what people say, and I can't believe it.
Yeah? all the people.
I'll wear it. I'll wear it like a badge of honor. I do want to just give a quick shout out, just only because I have a certain amount of guilt. You always stream at 1 p.m., so this is your slot. But my boys, Paul and Richard, have a show called Class Action that is literally premiering at the same exact moment as this on the Action Industries channel. And I feel bad that we're doing it at the same time, but obviously this is your time. So
wait, first of all, no way. Did you just realize that live this second?
Well, no, I knew because they were, said last night that it was going to premiere today and everything. I tweeted about it because obviously I want those guys to succeed. I love those guys. But I also, this is your 1 o'clock slot. You do 7 days a week at 1 o'clock. So
I do 6 days a week at 1, and Fridays I go at 2:30 after DC Movie News. Quick plug for myself. So but yeah, 1 o'clock is my slot.
To absolve my guilt. But that's the good thing about that show is that after the stream is over, that's like a podcast. You guys can go listen to it. It's about Austin movies. So when this is over, go check it out.
Should you feel guilty or should they feel guilty knowing this is my slot? Just wondering.
I'm not sure, but I feel like a guilty parent because it's my channel and those guys are my favorite other than you.
I mean, completely you are right that I'm smiling because you call me your favorite. It's fine. You are right that you should feel guilty, and also you should go support them. Where right now there's just too many of us to be streaming all at different times, unless somebody wanted to take like the 3 a.m. slot. Been thinking about it recently. That 3 a.m. slot's wide the fuck open right now.
I know. Well, you had a crazy stream the other night that was supposed to be unlisted on Patreon.
It was unlisted. It just didn't. It was like.
It was like midnight or something, or like 11, right? And
it was midnight to 1. It was crazy.
And Action, we're patrons of Roxy Stryer, so I got the notification and I clicked on it, and I was like, "There's like 300 people watching this.
There's
not even 300 patrons here."
I know. So, that's true. That's very true. Well, shout out to all my amazing patrons, though, who are growing even during this crazy ass time. So I'm obsessed with you guys. Also, I told them, I think it was during that stream actually that you just mentioned, Ben, about the grill voucher and the major flub. So Jamie Martinez says, "Hey Ben, where is the barbecue grill voucher?" Good question, Jamie. Good question. Ben, did you or did you not give away my grill and then lose your grill voucher? True story?
There were a lot of mishaps with the whole Ellen DeGeneres free stuff experience. One of them was that I gave away, Roxy's to her brother and her brother's wife as a gift. I thought that was a really nice gift we could give them.
To give my grill to them. Yes, it was so lovely.
It seemed like we would have our own grill, but then I lost the voucher somewhere. I don't know how. The other irony was that when we got our own places and I had sold my knife set to my old roommate, and you still have the knives. They're like excellent knives. They're like really nice.
Pretty incredible knives. Not going to feel bad for you on that one.
Yeah. So Roxy, aside from the grill that I unfortunately blew up, I don't have any of those things anymore. Roxy, I think, has all
the pots or pans or anything. You sold all those too?
I think that I can't remember. Maybe I returned the pots and pans to a store for cash or something. This was all like at the time that you and we just were sharing everything. It was all like, so I had no reason.
You went from having 2 grills to 0. It was a strong move.
Yeah, that was a tough one. That was a real tough one. The grill.
Also, go ahead. The grill.
No, go ahead.
You were going to say it's on you. You know, you don't usually start a sentence and then start taking a sip. This is what you just did. You know, the grill.
It's old broadcasting technique, Rox.
Oh, I missed that book. I missed that chapter in the book. The stream in which you mentioned, again, that did so well, one of the reasons was because of a champion, Carlos, who went in there and just kept trying to spell out pussy. It was really kind of brilliant what he did. And Larry Lee says, woohoo, Carlos. So shout out to Carlos. You have all of our hearts and souls.
Alejandro Ramos here in the chat asks, who is Ben? How many people do you think in this chat right now that are fans of you and fans of us both have zero idea who I am at all?
All right, let's test this. If you don't know who Ben is, send bunnies. Anybody who doesn't know who Ben is, send bunnies. And then we'll see. And then we'll explain who you are if there are enough bunnies. Or if there are any bunnies, because everybody deserves to know who you are. Will Watson says, salute to one of the greatest Schmoedown people ever. And Ben's here too. LOL. No, seriously, you two are awesome. Stay safe from the wheelman. Such a stud. Epic comment. Wow, they're saying I'm one of the best Schmoedown people ever. How's that make you feel over there on your
We did just have a match post, actually, you and I, just yesterday, publicly. It just posted.
Yeah,
And
whatever.
it was heated. It was a heated match.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. Are we allowed to talk about it yet?
Yeah, it's 24 hours now. And also it's been up on Patreon since Monday. So
Okay, so let's do that towards the end of the stream. Let's save talking about the match to the end of the stream, just in case any of you guys haven't seen it. We'll give you guys time to get out of here. I'm obsessed with the fact that Jake Yakavetta sent bunnies. Lucas sent bunnies. They don't know who you are. It's too funny. So Ben is. Who are you? We met over at AfterBuzz TV when you were doing the 100.
Yeah, it was when you approved my host application in late 2014. And yeah, my first show there was the 100.
And then you went on to do a lot of stuff with Schmoes. You are a Schmoedown champion. You've got Action Industries with Drew Guy, who hopefully will come on the show in the future. You're a host, a musician, my ex-boyfriend. So there's that element too.
Yeah, it's an important detail.
Am I missing anything?
No, I think that's that's correct. The only other thing you missed is that I'm also in the Magic the Gathering world. Just saying.
That is true. You are a Magic the Gathering pro. I forgot. These are facts about you. And because people do know you and care, they did have questions for you in the Patreon. So I want to get to a couple of those. Anybody, just so you guys know at home, in case you don't know, if you are in the $10 or up tier, my Patreon, you get to ask every guest that comes in a question, which is a good time to join because tomorrow we have Janine coming on. Monday we've got Ellis coming on, and Thursday we've got Snyder coming on.
Great guest.
So definitely you're going to want to upgrade if you're not at that $10 to get in your questions for the guests. But starting with Garth McMurray, who says, question for Ben. This month, the Schmoedown Patreon is offering a $250 tier to get a one-on-one virtual coaching session with you. I didn't know they were doing that. You are famous for your effective studying techniques. Do you have any free advice about studying for people like me competing in the fan leagues?
Okay, so actually there's a couple answers to this question. The first one is that free advice, other than just generic stuff that you hear other people say, it's really hard because there's so much. I think the easiest thing I can say is that if you really want to cover a lot of ground, you aren't studying by watching movies, but I think that's pretty obvious by now. You're studying by studying movies. But I think the other thing to say is that I've heard Christian on SEN say that he's going to do this fan tournament. And I have been very clear that I want an Action Army member to win that fan tournament if he does, in fact, do it. So I know that over on our Patreon, patreon.com/teamaction, we're going to do some not one-on-one coaching like the Schmoedown thing. That's a totally separate thing. But we're going to do some unlisted link for patron public seminars type of stuff. As soon as that gets announced, for all Action Army patrons, we don't know what level, but it'll get announced soon, where Drew and I actually do an actual seminar. This is the stuff you should do. This is how you should prepare. This is what you should pay attention to. And I actually love the idea that because now, you're streaming, so the rock stars have a platform, and obviously Action Industries, we've got a platform, and I know Winston does some streams. I don't know if he has his own channel, but Swag and
he does with Jay. The two of them do stuff together, so which is cool because they are also together in the Schmoedown.
Yeah, and I know Fife obviously is she has her own channel, but you've got people streaming on there, and so I think the idea that there would be all of the different people would sort of have their own streaming. I'm going to coach the people that I want to see win this fan tournament thing is an awesome idea, and I hope that gets kind of embraced if the fan tournament does happen.
All right. Well, Dam says Ben the Badass Bateman, one of the best heels. You, sir, are awesome. So not a bad person to learn from. I mean, you're not a manager, but you're a decent player, I guess. So there is that. Taking another one from the Patreon, and I'm going to bounce around, guys, between the Streamlabs, the Patreon, and the Super Chat. Also, we got a couple of things that we want to talk about today. So Donnie Adolphson says, what do you miss most about going to the movie theater right now?
Oh, it's killing me. So I am somebody who, when I moved to LA, didn't think that I was going to be in this business. This is not the content creation space. It's not what I moved here for. It was sometime around 4 or 5 years ago that I started getting into hosting in movies. And as a kid, I loved movies so much that when the moment happened, when that light turned on of like, I am technically this close to being a movie critic, I started reaching out to studios, and now I screen everything as press. Those aren't happening now. We don't get to do those. Roxy and I go to many of the same screenings. Going to all of the movies for free, it being work, getting to talk about them, that's like one of the favorite things I've gotten to do since I moved to LA. And it's a very like, I almost want to call it therapeutic experience, knowing I like love it. And I really, really miss it. So it's not the concessions. It's really just that experience of like getting excited to go see a movie and knowing that I'm doing my job is something I really, really, really miss.
We got some more Schmoedown questions coming in, but I guess part of the reason why you go to the movies is to kick butt in the Schmoedown, so it all makes sense. Alias says, what drives you to succeed in the Schmoedown?
So I like grew up as a kid who was like almost like a little OCD with the things I loved. And as I got older, it just like that became so much more of who I was. Roxy knows this very well. I'm like very hyper focused.
You?
On the things I love. And I have very, very sort of like little patience or interest in things if I don't somehow lock into them as like deemed important to me. It's like a whatever you want to call it, OCD or something. So as a kid, I love movies.
It is exactly that.
Yeah. It's almost like, people will say social anxiety. I think I have like a level of like anxiety if I'm not good at something or don't find interest, which is why sometimes in public at parties, I'm not good talking to people. If it's like not an environment that I'm comfortable in, Roxy's seen me do this before, I just kind of shut down. I don't say anything.
Yeah, weird. you get extremely anxious around people that you don't know, or even sometimes people you do know. And also you're thinking about like numbers and stats and stuff.
Yeah. So
like you will just sit in a corner and run back and forth the Oscar winners since 1954 or whatever the fuck you do. But it's wild to see.
So the answer to the question is, when the idea that there was a sport that could combine my love of movies and my love of knowing things, I didn't even realize how much I wanted this.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I realized, because the first year and a half, I'd say I was just good. I was just good, maybe a little less than good, sometimes good, and occasionally better than good. But it wasn't until I realized, like, if I actually do this correctly, I can be the best at this. I actually can win. I can win a championship. I'm going to do this. When I realized I could do that, it's a goal. I wanted it more than anything. I still want to be the greatest of all time. So I'm still focused on it.
Will says the wheelman will throw my wheels in the tournament if there's an IG division and hopefully roll over everyone. LOL. I like all those puns. But it's a tough league. The IG division. Whoa, baby. Lawrence Leese in the Streamlab says, Ben, what do you think about the possibility of Kevin Smith joining the Schmoedown?
I love it. Smith was my guy growing up. He was my favorite director. Went out for 6 years there from about the age of like 11 or 12 till like end of high school. I was obsessed. My older brother got me into him as kind of he's a great guy to be into when you're like an adolescent. Dick and fart jokes.
Fine. I was in a movie with him. It's whatever. It's okay.
It's so cool. That's amazing.
Just wanted to remind people of that. It's fine. Keep going. Yeah, it's cool. I was in a movie with him. Whatever. I
would love to compete against him or anything. It'd be super cool. I just think it would be so, like, I was thinking about this the other day too, other personalities now in the digital space that I'm like a big fan of that I know are really into movies. I think Kevin Smith would be great. I think like Bill Simmons would probably be very good at the movie trivia Schmoedown. A lot of those ringer guys, it'd be so cool to see.
When we had Dan Merle come on, he talked about one of his favorite moments ever on Movie Fights was right before he went up against Kevin Smith. Kevin Smith made I forget, he quoted some movie and Dan knew.
I was watching that and yeah, exactly. And he made a joke and he put him totally at ease. I was like, that's such a cool story. I was amazed.
And he was impressed that Dan knew what it was coming from. And Kevin was like, good one. And Dan was like, oh my God, I'm getting complimented by Kevin frickin' Smith, which is so cool. He's awesome. I love that. Did you see the thing going around? So Brandon Buck says, thanks to Abby Friel, I'm now a competitor in the Rockstars, meant to be. Did you see the thing going around about this?
Yeah, the Schmoedown filter.
The Schmoedown filter. It is so cool. There's so many rock stars.
I saw you were posting all about them. You got a whole squad.
Why did that feel like you were insulting me?
I don't know.
I saw you were posting all about them. Yes, I was posting about them because I'm so happy.
You got some people joining the band.
And my B. Lee, who's one of my moderators and OG friend of mine from here, became a rock star. It was like the proudest moment of my life. It was very, very exciting for me. So fine. I like that filter. I don't understand how Abby made it. I didn't know like one could make a filter.
Nor did I.
Uh,
I'm good at technology.
Lizard. You're a technology wizard. Lewis Allen says, "Hi Roxy, I'm from England and thoroughly enjoying your streams. I was wondering if you could watch one film that has been delayed, what would you pick?" Right now, honestly, the answer obviously would be Wonder Woman if it wasn't coming in August. But if it's coming in August, I'm chill with it. So Mulan, I was so excited about that movie. It was so close. I mean, Ben, I think the press screening was like a week away from when we went into isolation. And I am of the Disney animated movies, it's a top 3 for me: Lion King, Aladdin, and Mulan. I love, love, love Mulan. And I saw my friends get to see it. Trisha Hirschberger and Maud and all these people were there. I think Wendy.
Yeah.
And I just was so excited for that movie. The marketing material was amazing. And I have no idea when we're going to see it. I have no idea, truly.
Yeah, one of my good friends, Jimmy, is in that movie, and he was at the premiere, and he did a whole live blog that day of all the like, this is getting ready, and he's so excited because this is a huge break, obviously. Like Jimmy,
it's massive.
Yeah, massive. I mean, you know, and
you know him from that thing you do, Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, and Jimmy went and he did the premiere, and then our screening was supposed to be 2 days later, I think, and 3 days later maybe, and I think it's so sad that the last movie we screened was Bloodshot.
I know.
That. Not
I know
Mulan.
people keep asking me what's the last movie I saw in theaters, and I'm like,
I think it was Bloodshot. I was on the Tuesday probably,
and it was fine.
And I think I was supposed to screen My Spy Wednesday, and I think I didn't because I started to feel I had a cold, and with all this craziness, I was like, I should just go home. And then, you know, now I was like, oh wow, they postponed My Spy another month, not realizing every movie was going to be postponed like a year.
Yeah, very true. Ben, will you read this one from Larry Lease?
Yeah, Larry Lease says, I'm dying for Tenet.
I made you read it because
you say tenant.
I have a hard time saying that word. I have a really hard time. Speaking of which, underneath Larry, though, it's your boy, a fellow horseman, but really my boy too, John Roca in the house. I love when John Roca. Oh my God, when you put his names together, it sounds like Joka. John Roca, Joka. That's crazy. What a cool nickname. I love when he pops in on the streams. Awesome to have him here. John, we're going to be doing some Schmoedown talk towards the end of this as our factions went up against each other, and we certainly have things to say about that.
Did you see John's new TikTok? Did you watch it?
I didn't see the new TikTok. I'm so upset about it. I heard about the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah.
But I have to say, and I know that you dig it too, Ben, he's being smart.
I agree.
Being smart. I want to be able to do TikTok right now. Just can't figure it out. Like, I watch what women seem to be doing on TikTok in the industry is like these like body rolls and stuff. And like, I just can't picture myself setting up my camera and like learning a dance, and nothing against it. I just can't picture myself like, I mean,
I totally get it.
Back and forth between the fucking hospital and home. Like, I'm not like standing and doing body rolls during this time. Again, no shade towards people who are doing that. It's awesome, but I don't know. So I'm happy to see that John's like actually doing it and doing different shit.
So I think that John, first of all, if John's still watching, the second TikTok was
he says that I'm a pro. I'm not as pro as you are, but still a pro.
I think the second TikTok was much better than the first, and actually his timing on the second TikTok was pretty good. If you go watch it, he's like, it's some song about get your fiddle, and he's got his belt on his shoulder, and then he like pans up, and you see like Outlaw on the wall. The timing was solid. It looked like somebody who understood TikTok. I did my first TikTok like 2 months ago when Birds of Prey came out, and I didn't promote it because I was embarrassed. And
you did one?
I did a review of Birds of Prey on TikTok because Alex Kessler is obsessed with TikTok, and he convinced me I should do it. And so I have a TikTok. I follow 3 people. I follow Kess Games, Alex Kessler, and John Roca. And I never. I didn't even know you had a TikTok. Do you have a TikTok?
25 followers. Yeah, I've never posted anything.
More followers. I like my review of Birds of Prey was whatever. I didn't think it was very good, but when I saw John doing it, it's like, like that's everyone's going to be doing this. I bet Andrew Guy on our stream last night $20 that within 3 months he's on TikTok.
100%.
Yeah,
100%. Larry says old man John Roca is in the house. We are very lucky to have him and all of his TikTok-y ways. I think that if I could figure out a way to be funny on there, I like the comedic ones.
Yeah,
the dancing ones are cool to watch, but I'm never going to be able to do that. Or like, do you follow Jason Derulo on there?
No.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
Jason Derulo, like that guy. Yeah,
I know who he is. Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing, but
you don't know he does that before everything. Jason Derulo is yeah. Okay,
yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, go ahead.
So he does like crazy ass TikToks, and he did this one with this woman. I don't know her name, but also I think she's famous. And he takes her by the hair, and he while she planks over a pool, and he puts her down and back up. It's fucking unbelievable. Like the core strength that she has and his ability, it's unreal. But Jason Derulo is one of my favorite followers right now, and Derek Huff is one of my favorite because he's really funny on there too. Wow. So those are two of my TikTok people. Oh, John has a recommendation. He says Abby Friel is the best at TikTok. All right, I'm gonna have to check that out. She's the one who made the filter too, so she's killing it on the internet this week. Speaking of more Schmoedown things, Lawrence says, "What has your favorite Schmoedown been?"
Like my favorite one I've been a part of.
I don't know. It could just be your favorite Schmoedown been, like event in general. Anything?
There's so many of them now. I mean, I have like lots of memories that are really, really significant, like ones that have really stood out to me. The match I played against Dan in Atlanta was the greatest match I was ever a part of. So that was definitely a pretty wild experience. The wrestling ring against Drew was incredible. I love Kalinowski Smets. That's one of my favorite matches ever. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's the thing is like, I've been a fan for such a long time and I've watched so many great
matches. You really love the Kalinowski Smets one?
That's like, so when Kalinowski beats him and he starts crying, it's like one of the single moments in the Schmoedown in history that I like the most. It feels like
it was so real.
Yeah. And there's something like, there are so many like little details to that moment that I love because, he like Ken is his like manager on Corruption at that moment. And like these days, Ken doesn't care that much about Schmoedown as a manager. He's not super invested. He's not always tweeting about it and stuff. But at that moment when like,
he's not a manager.
I just mean, sure. But my point is more like, I don't even know if Ken was really doing that much to help Mike, like a study or anything like that. But I do know that Mike goes over and gives him this big hug and he's like crying on his shoulder. And I just love it. It's like, even if he wasn't helping him study, I know that before the match, Ken was probably giving him like, you've got this. Like, there's just something about that whole thing. And the fact that Smets like blows it in that moment. And that's what gives him the win. And like Smets at that moment was like totally the unbeatable Russian, so to speak, in like an action movie. He was like this tank that no one could beat. I don't know. There's just something about that moment that I just love.
John says team action versus top 10 too.
That's a bad one. That's the one where John gets tackled. I do love team action top 10 1. Damn. That match was incredible.
All right. Well, to each their own. Will Watson saying, I was in Atlanta. It was awesome. Yeah. I wish I got to see more of Atlanta. I don't mean the match. I just mean the place.
Yeah.
Because that was a great day. I don't know what my favorite one is. I'll get back to you guys. But some of the ones that you guys are naming are pretty incredible. Shout out to more people in the Streamlabs right now. Glenn Caesar says, hey, Roxy and Ben, happy Saturday. Since Roxy's been doing some cooking streams recently, what are each of your favorite odd food combinations and your guilty food pleasures? Mine are French fries in honey and cherry Pop-Tarts. Love you, Roxy and Ben. Hashtag Rockstars Band. Hashtag Action Army. Wow. French fries in honey and cherry Pop-Tarts, like all together?
It's a lot of weird combinations of flavors.
Do you have a weird favorite food one?
Eggs and scallops.
Is that a real thing?
I've cooked, yeah. Like I cook scallops and eggs. I've done just eggs and like scrambled eggs with scallops in them. That's a thing. It's weird.
Wow, that is a fucking weird one. Bye to our friend John Roca. Love you lots. And we will kill the rest of the stream having the best time ever. Thank you for your support being here.
Thank you, Outlaw.
eggs and scallops. I like eggs and lox, but eggs and scallops, I don't know. I don't think I have any really weird. I mean, you guys know I love Oreos and peanut butter. Not that that's that weird, but Parent Trap combinations. I know when I was younger, I had a disgusting one. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Ben. I think I've told you guys this maybe one time on one stream. Might have been a Patreon exclusive. I used to take what the fuck are those crackers called? Stone wheat thins.
Okay.
And chew them in my mouth. Like I'd take 3 and I would chew them in my mouth and then I'd spit them onto a cracker that was full and sandwich it. So it would be cracker, my chewed up fucking disgusting cracker, bottom cracker. Growing up, I would do that every time I would eat them forever until I realized that was fucking disgusting. But there was something about it that was like the jam. It. Yeah.
That's weird. Mine was like as a kid. Mine as a kid was my mom would make these things called jelly rolls. She'd like.
I remember that.
She'd like scramble eggs and she'd put them in like a pan and then so it'd be like an omelet and then she'd take it out and she'd put raspberry jam and roll it up and like slice them in these little bites of like egg with raspberry jam. That's like a weird one. I loved it as a kid. It was like my favorite thing.
Ryan Kramer wants to know what are lox. It is smoked salmon. It's a very Jewish way to eat eggs or put it on your bagel or something.
Yeah, it's like, but it's not like that kind of smoked salmon where it's like an actual like fillet of salmon that's like you can kind of crumble it. It's the kind where it's like they're like strips of like flat and softer salmon. So
it looks like raw, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's great. If you've never tried it, I love it. Thank you, William Lee Pratt, who says, I've done that, Roxy. It's fucking disgusting, but I did. It's how I used to live my life, It is what it is. Cousin Vinny says, I saw the video of your grandparents, and I'm not just being nice. They look barely 60. Beautiful people. I'm glad they're doing well, and congrats on the road to aging like fine wine. LOL. White people don't usually get in that club. Amazing comment. Yeah, for anybody who didn't see, I put a video on my Instagram. I'm pretty sure it has a lot of fucking views right now. I just wanted to show the world a moment of love because it was such a beautiful moment to watch. And I didn't start videoing it for a couple minutes in. It's got 12,000 views on it right now, which is pretty cool. I should have put it on Twitter too. Because I need moments like that in my life right now, and I'm sure you guys too, watching Love. And a lot of people were saying how young they look. Yeah, Grammy has taken such incredible care of her skin, and everybody's saying she looks 60 and she's 92. So I'm gonna look really great. She says the trick to it is to keep a little weight on you so you don't get wrinkles. So
it's a good one. I'll keep that in mind.
Who knows if that's legit, but. Glenn Caesar says, no, not altogether. I meant that fries and honey is my odd food, my odd comb, and frosted cherry Pop-Tarts is my guilty pleasure. Oh, altogether would have been weirder. I do understand now. KP in the Streamlab says, so in the time of craziness, I saw something hysterical. A woman put on a condom on her hands to shop at my work. She shopped for sunglasses of all things. Roxy, your video of your grandparents made me cry. It was so touching and amazing. So happy for him to be home. KP, it makes me feel a little strange that you went from talking about condoms to my grandparents, but that's okay. The condom thing. Desperate times call for desperate measures. A lot of people wearing bras around their faces because they make a good shape for a mask. So we're seeing that more and more too. Kind of wild.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all from Ben Bateman. Yeah.
On the bra mask. Yeah. I don't own a bra, so.
Good for you, Ben. Good for you. Garth McMurray says, Ben, thanks for answering my question. Schmoedown fan matches sound like a fun step up from the fan leagues. I'd be happy to play and represent the Action Army unless Roxy decides to send me in as a rock star. I've got to stay loyal to rock stars first. Hell yeah, Garth. How are you? We got to talk. I got to know what you're bringing to the table. So there's that.
Yeah, seriously.
Ben with the silent nod again. Wow.
Well, you know what actually just happened as you literally said that was I realized if the factions are all sending like a person, the Action Army is not a faction.
No,
we're on 2 different factions, and that we wouldn't. So I got all excited just a second ago when he said that. Like literally, I was thinking, wow, what if every single faction like nominated a fan and trained a fan? That'd be so cool. But I couldn't do that as Action Army. Bummer.
No, you couldn't. So there's that. Awkward. Glenn also said in the Patreon, he said, in honor of Christian posting exhibition match ideas on the MTS group page, Ben and Roxy, what is your fantasy booking for the Ultimate Schmoedown Spectacular live event with all 4 titles on the line, past and present competitors included? Although I'm interested to hear both of your individual lists. If it's easier to do a collaboration between the two of you, it's fine as well. Your choice. Holy crap, Glenn. Big question. I don't know if we can do all 4 titles, but let's just start. Ben, what are you thinking?
Okay, I think for Star Wars, that's the most obvious, easiest one because everybody's just Damon Whitwer, right? Everybody wants to see Damon Whitwer. It's never going to happen, but that's the dream. That's the dream Star Wars match for IG.
Why do you think never going to happen? Because Whitwer.
He's been pretty.
Yeah, but we don't know
about it, that he's never going to do it.
We'll see.
So that'd be one. I think for IG. I mean, the greatest IG player of all time at the moment is a toss-up between Cushing or Kalinowski.
Right.
And I feel like Smets is on his way to taking that mantle.
Right.
And Inman and Mara are like the other ones. So I think probably it has to just be like Cushing, Kalinowski 4, unless it's Cushing Smets because they never played.
What about Kalinowski, Mara?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I guess now with all the drama, probably that's a good match, but they played once.
I'm excited to see what Robert Parker does.
Yeah, me too. I can't wait. I mean, he's supposed
to be what do you think singles?
For singles, I mean, it's probably a Dan. It's probably a Dan match because it's hard to imagine that it's not Dan. And I mean, a lot of people would probably say Dan Levine. I'm going to be selfish and say that Bateman Dan. I want to win. I'd want to win at the Ultimate Spectacular. I want to win the title.
I'd want to see that. For teams, I'm going to say I think Patriot Shirewolves.
Yeah, Patriot Shirewolves would be a pretty awesome match. I mean, that'd be a pretty special matchup that we never got to see. And it does feel like I mean, I guess the only other one that I could think of would be Above the Line Shirewolves, maybe. Or I guess there's a lot of great teams, but it does feel like Patriot Shirewolves is the all-time heel, all-time face, most dominant teams.
That's what we got for you right now, Glenn. Interesting question, though. It is an interesting thought. Lucas Shawshek says, what is going on here? Ben's feed has frozen all stream. Is that true?
Really? It doesn't look like that to me.
Doesn't look like that to me either. But you are a tech lizard. So either he's trolling us or you've frozen all stream.
I mean, I'm watching the YouTube feed right now and I'm not frozen.
You gotta let us know. Let us know what is happening there. All right. While you guys are letting us know that, I do want to talk about a couple things that we are talking about on the stream today, starting with Robert Downey Jr. It is his birthday. It is such a strange time to be having a birthday. And I saw today that Mark Ruffalo posted an Instagram hugging him from behind. It was really freaking cute, saying that he's the greatest guy. Happy birthday. And I know that you're a big fan, Ben, especially with the ups and downs of his career and the comeback that feels like one of the biggest comebacks of ever. Yeah. So I want to talk about a couple of our favorite moments or roles, things that you love, even if on, off screen, etc., from Robert Downey Jr. Anything that stands out to you to start, Ben Bateman?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge RDJ fan. I think he's a guy who the early part of his career is actually a lot less appealing than the later part of his career. Do you find that at all, that there's like these guys who, when they're young and super handsome and like very charismatic, when you get used to them having like a little bit more of like a grizzled life experience, it makes watching that old stuff less enjoyable. I find that with Alec Baldwin. I find his young stuff is kind of obnoxious. I find young Sean Penn to be a lot less enjoyable than older Sean Penn.
Really? You usually find it more with men than women?
Yeah, well, the fucking problem with Hollywood, right, is that they stopped casting women at 40, so you get a way smaller sample size. The roles I'm talking about with men, a lot of them, it's in their 40s that I like them the most, right? Like, so with Robert Downey Jr., I think about the stuff, even like Chaplin, where he's really good in Chaplin. All his movies in the 80s, his stuff in the 90s, there's almost nothing I can think of that stands out. But like, obviously as Tony Stark, he's incredible. He's great as Sherlock Holmes. I even love him in movies like The Judge. He's awesome in like Kiss.
Do you love him as Sherlock Holmes?
I do like him a lot as the character Sherlock Holmes. I don't love those movies, but I think he's fantastic.
What do you, if you had to think of what is your favorite movie moment of his? Is it an Iron Man moment?
Yes, it
Do you know
is.
what it is?
Yeah, probably. It's probably his fight against Thanos in Infinity War on Titan. I think there's a couple that are great, and there's also some Endgame stuff that's really incredible. Like there's a couple moments when he first lands in Endgame and he sees Cap and he goes, "I lost the kid," and it like just the weight with which he says it, like that's what he's holding on to. I
Mhm.
love that moment because like it really, again, it's like the proof of him, like sort of the father-son relationship. But I think it's probably when he's pulling all of the nano from his leg to keep fighting Thanos and he's running out. You can tell he's gonna, because like I remember being in the theater when he gets stabbed, and it's like it was one of the single most like, oh my god, movie moments I've ever experienced.
For me, I feel like often my favorite moment for somebody is their last.
Hmm.
Um, and with him, it's no exception. People have asked me a bajillion times my favorite episode of Friends, and it is the finale. And I feel like his finale was so perfect because it feels like every moment in one. Because we've got the fact that he is doing a callback to initially announcing that he is Iron Man, and just the entire, like, he did it. That moment is so powerful,
I totally agree.
so beautiful.
Somebody else in here is saying, "Don't waste your life, Tony," which reminds me of, because that's what Yinsen says that in the first movie, but actually it's, I love an Endgame when he talks to his dad. That's the other scene in that movie I remember, because I think that movie is overly long and there's portions of it that I don't enjoy as much, but I do think that the scene where he's talking to John Slattery and he walks and he says, my dad would drop the odd pearl here and there, and he says, like, what? And Tony says, no amount of money will ever buy you another second of time. That's like a great quote, great moment.
And so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. Liam Gilpin says Tropic Thunder is an all-timer.
That's true.
I agree, although it does bring up some controversy with the way that it is aged.
Agreed, but I just think in the
I
funny.
know.
Do you think it's as funny as I do that the part of that movie that you would think like 12 years later is the most offensive is actually less offensive? So him in blackface is less offensive than Simple Jack. The Simple Jack stuff is actually like, I
don't think that's true. I think him in blackface is the most offensive.
Oh, because I think him in blackface is like, that's a direct parody, right? Like
I know it is, but we're not the ones to be offended by it. Like,
fair, yeah.
It's not ours to be offended by, and apparently, it's offensive, so it's offensive. But I can't even believe. I mean, it's not like that movie was from 40 years ago. Like, I can't believe that movie even happened. But I cannot help when I watch it. It's so fucking funny. It's so fucking funny,
unbelievably funny, and even the stuff that's offensive.
Boy, T. Cruz. I mean, come on.
Yeah, TC Legend kills it. Obviously, they're like, but even just like the stupid lines that are like offensive, like when you're watching the clip of Stiller and he says that like he makes my eyes rain. Like some of the writing in the movie is so stupid but so funny that movie makes me laugh as probably almost as much as any comedy in the last 20 years.
Yeah. And on the opposite end of things, Ryan Kramer, thank you for reminding me about Doolittle. That movie happened.
We were there watching that one together, weren't we?
Yeah. It was a movie. Zodiac coming in from Kingsport, Cal.
Incredible movie, yeah.
Totally. And then, like you mentioned before, Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
Yeah.
So many ridiculous performances. He is really talented. I know that sounds like the most basic statement I've ever made, but he's really talented.
You know what other movie he's in? This is funny. I wonder if you even know this about me. So when I was a kid, at age 10, I stopped crying. I didn't cry for almost a decade. I think it's probably has something to do with the fact that my parents got divorced when I was 10.
Checks out.
But I didn't literally shed a single tear until I was 19. And there's a moment in this movie called A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints that he's in. Shia LaBeouf's in it. Rosario Dawson's in it. It's directed by, I think, Dito Montiel. It's his actual story. And like,
who
Chaz
is that?
Palmentier. He's this guy. He wrote like a doc. He wrote basically like a this was his biography or whatever.
Okay.
And he did another movie a couple years later called Fighting with Channing Tatum. That's not very good, but this movie in particular, Guide to Recognizing Your Saints, I really loved. And I watched this movie when I was like 19 or something. And this was the first movie that made me cry in like almost a decade for whatever reason. Then after that, I cry all the time now. But that
is not true about you.
I tear up during movies a lot. I cried 3 times during Grown Ups, so that should give you a sense of where I'm at in my life.
That's true. I do feel like more in recent years. I do feel like there was a good couple year period where you were clogged up again.
Yeah, maybe.
What's the name of the movie one more time?
A Guide to Recognizing Your Saints.
Guide to Recognizing Your Saints. I gotta watch it. Ben M in the Streamlab says, wishing you both all the best in these weird times. P.S. Please have Mark Bernardin on as a guest at some point. I would be very lucky to have Mark Bernardin on as a guest. Anytime Mark Bernardin wants to come on as a guest, Mark Bernardin is more than welcome to be here as a guest. I did do an episode of Heroes with him.
That's amazing.
And he's awesome. So there is that. Going back to some more Schmoedown talk. Glenn Caesar says, thumbs up on the ultimate Schmoedown spectacular question. Roxy and Ben, also 170 watching and 107 thumbs up. Hit that thumbs up button. Thank you, Glenn, for pimping out the stream. As always, I appreciate that. And also, we had another one from John Doe who said, Knopic versus Cushing, best match of all time. John Doe, whoever you are, man, you got that generosity gene, and I appreciate it. That match is incredible. I agree. That is one of the hardest ones for me to watch because I can feel the pain in it.
Yeah.
But it is a good one.
I wanted to jump in here really quickly and say this will be my shameless plug moment, only because you guys know I'm like a huge fan of the Schmoedown. So currently over on our Patreon on Action Industries, patreon.com/Team Action, we are doing this series called the Action Rewind series. And so right now, twice a month, Andrew and I are going in. It's only an unlisted stream for patrons at the captain and above level. There's other perks there as well, like the Captain's Cabana. But we're going in and doing a live rewatch of chronologically every single Team Action match through the time Team Action breaks up. And that includes the singles matches that we were both playing during that time. So Drew playing Dan, Drew playing Riley, right? Me playing Mance and the 5-way against Inman, all those matches, plus obviously all the legendary ones like the top 10 matches and stuff. We're 3 episodes in so far. You can go get a preview of what it's like on our stream from 2 weeks ago. We did the first one publicly, us versus the Night Sisters, our very first match. And our next one that's coming up is against Deep Cuts, which is a classic. So if you guys are interested in that stuff, patreon.com/Team Action. It's a very fun series.
It's not a shameless plug. That's exactly what you need to be doing here. And we're talking a lot of Schmoedown stuff. And obviously they want your thoughts on Schmoedown for all of these different things. So I think that it's important to talk about because people don't even realize because all of us are doing so many things right now, they don't know where to find everybody and where you're talking about what. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Speaking of people who like you, Faraz Muthana says, hey, Ben, longtime fan here. You and Andrew are known to be the action guys, but what other genres do you love to watch and break down? I hope you have a wonderful day and stay safe, you two.
Well, that is Faraz Muthana. Big salute to you, General.
No, wait, how do you say his last name?
Well, it's Muthana, except that at one point, I think on one of John's streams,
what do you call him? Meow?
Yeah, like a cat, like Meowthana.
I like that.
So we call him in the generals chat. We have a big general chat with all the generals of the Action Army, and he's in there. So I always refer to him as Meowthana in there.
Meow mix, please deliver.
I love action movies, but the hilarious part, and a lot of you guys who are like really longtime fans kind of know at this point, Drew and myself, both of us, action is not our favorite genre. I would even go as far as to say that in general, I don't even really like action movies that much because there's a lot of action movies that are popular that I think are pretty bad.
You guys have had some, when you guys were a team, you had some not as great action wheel spins.
Right. Well, totally. And I think early on we won matches because of action, then we lost a match because of action. And, I have gone on record saying this many times, but I think that the best moments in most action movies are the moments between the action. So I love dramas and thrillers probably more than any genre. That's probably like where I enjoy the most. Quirky comedies I'm a big fan of as well. I like most genres, to be totally honest. I watch a ton of movies. As long as there's
rom-com.
You know how many rom-coms I watched this last year?
I do.
A crazy number of rom-coms. I watched all the classic Julia Roberts ones. I watched 10 Things I Hate About You. I watched He's Just Not That Into You. I mean, I watched a ton in this last year.
Thank you for waiting until we broke up to start watching my favorite
rom-coms.
Yeah, it was very sweet of you. I appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Well, spoiler for everybody in here. I watched 10 Things I Hate About You with Roxy recently. It's one of her favorite movies ever, and I really enjoyed it.
First of all, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Which one did I say?
10 Things I Hate About You.
Yes, sorry, that's what I meant. How to Lose a Guy in 10
Things
Days.
I Hate About You is also one of my favorites, and I love it, but you did not watch that with me.
I know that movie. I've seen that movie.
So who are you confusing me with? NFL Caleb 22 in the super chat. I cannot wait until you get asked a question and you say 10 things I hate about you, and the answer is actually How to Lose a Guy in 10 days.
That is literally the whole entire point of when I say you think cat, you say dog. That's why you take your fucking time in the game, guys, for exactly reasons like that.
Well, sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. Another thing I want to talk about on the stream today, because I saw it this morning and I was just interested. Honestly, I don't even have a strong opinion. I don't think I haven't formed a strong opinion yet, but I saw this and was like, that's a thing that's happening on the world. That's kind of weird. So Louis C.K. dropped a comedy special on his own channel. You have to pay, I think it's $8 for it. It's on his website. And he put out a comedy special in which it is called Sincerely CK, and it's available to stream on his site for $7.99. And he says it's intended for, quote, those who need to laugh, end quote. This is more on what he said. He said, I feel like there are two kinds of people in this world. One kind needs to laugh when things get shitty. In fact, the shittier things get, the more serious, the more dark, the more terrifying, the more dangerous and dire anything is, the more important it is to laugh in the midst of it, and often directly in its face. These people believe it's no coincidence that human beings have survived despite our fragile, hairless bodies through the most difficult of times, and that we are the only species besides ladybugs who laugh at life. So there's more of it, but initial thoughts on the fact that he is doing this. Should people who want to watch this because they like him as a comedian be able to, or have access or want to rent this? Should we not be watching this? Has it been long enough? Is there no such thing as long enough? Do you not know either? Ben, what are you thinking about all this?
So in the world that we live in these days with canceled culture, as people will sometimes refer to it as, I think it's up to the viewer. It's up to the audience. You have to make the decision for yourself. The first choice you make is the distinction between art and the creator of the art, right? So we've talked about Mel Gibson. I can really enjoy The Patriot and laugh at The Patriot. I can't get behind the idea that he thinks the Holocaust didn't happen. If you're able to separate those two things, you can enjoy Mel Gibson's work because he does great work. He creates in a genre that I love. If you think about the same thing, you know, obviously there's a point you reach, Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, where like you're talking about way beyond stuff that is offensive or unsettling or you wouldn't want to be around. You're talking about like straight up criminals need to be in prison.
You mean there are levels to what assault or harassment look like?
Yes. And I think also when I say that, there are levels to how you feel about it, right? So like, I'm not saying that the stuff that Louis C.K. was accused and admitted to doing is ever okay, but if it depends how that makes you feel, right? It all depends how that makes you feel. And that's your decision if you want to give that money and you want to watch that. In this particular case of Louis C.K., I was never the biggest Louis C.K. fan. I know you were. I know a lot of people were. So I probably won't pay for it and watch it. But if I was a Louis C.K. fan at this moment, yeah, I would pay and watch it because it's content and he makes content that makes you happy.
So this is not the first time that he's released something on his website for pay since everything has gone down. But it is the first time that we are all on quarantine and looking for content in this kind of way, which is why this is getting so much buzz around it. You know, first of all, Louis is from my hometown. He's from Newton, Massachusetts. So, you know, he was growing up. He was a hometown hero. You know, he was so funny and so seemingly well liked. And I believe his show Louis to be every bit as funny, if not more sometimes, and the most poignant than Curb Your Enthusiasm. I find him to be, I think that he was my favorite stand-up comedian, from my hometown, knew people who had known him, like everything that you would think that you would want in a comedian is how I felt about him. So it hit me obviously really, really hard when the news came out about what had happened. That news being, in case people forget, that he was one of the people who was jerking off. I think he also was jerking off into plants, which I don't know what this whole fucking thing about jerking off into plants was. With women that were coming up, comedians, and having them stand there and watch him abusing his power. So I think that the reason I say that out loud is because a lot of people confuse a lot of these Me Too situations, and that's fucking awful. I'm not saying it's awful they confuse it. That is bad too. But what Louis did is fucking awful. But it is not the same as what Cosby did, and it is not the same as what Weinstein did, like you were talking about before.
Yeah, agreed.
That being said, it does feel like paying $8 on Louis' website is money that is going to Louis, like directly. He's not now in a major motion picture where 2,000 other people are being affected if I don't pay for it. This is money going to Louis. Obviously, it's going to more people than just Louis, but I cannot bring myself I want to see it because he's my favorite stand-up, or he was.
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to pay for that because I don't think that it's right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
yeah, it's a tough spot to be in as a fan because you know, like, you ultimately in this moment, especially when we're all at home and all we really want is content. It's exciting that your favorite stand-up is releasing a piece of new content. That would be exciting for you to watch. But I think the idea is like, because I think in all of the cases that you talk about with sort of the Me Too movement, with this culture, this moment of culture we've been in for, let's say, the last like 5 or so years now, where there's so much more openness to talk about it. Again, in the most extreme cases, these people are being punished on a criminal level, prison, years, many, many, many years. That's right. So the society has taken care of that person. They're no longer available and free to be in the world. With Louis, there was a moment when Louis C.K. was the single most famous comedian in the world. He was ascending. He could have been hosting the fucking Tonight Show the next year for all we knew. He was literally that guy. At this moment, the thing Louis can do is release a comedy special directly to fans on his website. That's like the extent of sort of his reach that he has at this moment. No network's going to sign him. Nobody's going to give him a show. He effectively, if that's what we call paying for his crimes, I don't know if it's enough, but he did pay something. And I think many of the people in his position, they lose a lot. And then it's your choice at that point if you still want to support them. You know, society, culture handles them how they see fit. Again, for me, I probably would be able to pay for it and watch it and separate it, but that's just me.
Yeah, and honestly, for anybody who is watching it, I'm not sitting here condemning you or blaming you. To each their own. But I don't think I would be able to laugh. So it's not worth it. Because I'm not able to separate, and especially because he's not playing a role. It's him.
Yeah, that's really tough with comedians.
So very, very challenging. We are running out of time, but I did say we would talk about Schmoedown stuff. Can you extend for another 10 minutes?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. I put you on the spot there. You could have said no to me, though. You know that. I do want to get to another super chat, and then we will talk about the match that was posted. Lewis Allen says, could I ask you both if there's a film that is universally liked, but you don't get the appeal? Mine is Dunkirk, but willing to give it another go. A lot of people didn't like Dunkirk, I found. I actually really like Dunkirk, but my brother doesn't like that movie either. Lewis, Ben, is there one that is pretty liked, but you don't get it?
Yeah, I would. Most things by Brian De Palma, Scarface included. Most things by Tim Burton.
What?
Those are the. I mean, there's there's probably 2 or 3 De Palma movies and 2 or 3 Burton movies that I really like, but there's a lot of movies. Billy was making fun of me in here earlier. I know it's not directed by Tim Burton, but Nightmare Before Christmas, family movies. Oh my god, I fucking can't stand like The Sandlot and like those types of movies.
What? You don't like The Sandlot?
No, movies like that I have the hardest time watching.
Oh my God. Ew, Ben. Ew. You guys know mine is Phantom Thread. I don't get it.
I love that movie.
You and the rest of the world. I do not get it.
The Irishman. The Irishman sucked. A lot of people like The Irishman. I didn't like it.
You thought it sucked?
I thought The Irishman had like some cool stuff in it, but I thought that movie being 3.5 hours was appalling.
Oh my God, Ben. You think it sucked? Yikes. All right, let's talk about the Schmoedown match. So it dropped. If you have not seen it yet or you do not want spoilers, now is a good time to get out of here. But before you do get out of here, just in case you are leaving, Ben, I want to make sure they know everywhere to find you, everywhere, all the things you're doing. So can you talk about a little bit of your stuff for a second?
Yeah, guys, go and follow Ben Bateman Media. That's pretty much me everywhere on all social, Twitter, Instagram. I am trying to build my Instagram this year, though posting would probably be helpful. But if you're not following me on Instagram, Ben Bateman Media is the place to go do it. And then Action Industries is the YouTube channel that Andrew and I run together. We do a lot of cool stuff on there. There's a bunch of different cool levels on our Patreon, patreon.com/Team Action. Lots of exclusive content, lots of cool stuff. We have these glasses are now for sale. This is our first ever exclusive Patreon item that we did. You guys,
they're so dope.
Yeah,
I love those.
So we have these for sale right now. There's about 17 pairs of these left. But yeah, and then we have a brand new show that's actually launching on Action Industries tonight, called The Greatest Movie Ever Made. It's once a week show we're going to be doing, and the first official episode is tonight. We're talking about the movie The Edge, which is about Alec Baldwin and Anthony Hopkins being chased in the woods by a bear. It's fucking fantastic. One of my favorite movies of all time. So tune in tonight at 5:00 for us to talk about the greatest movie ever made.
You were pitching me the greatest movie ever made. You were pitching me Edge. Is it The Edge or just Edge?
The Edge.
You were pitching me The Edge. The Edge?
The Edge, yeah.
The Edge the other day. And you were like, it's got the simplest plot ever. And then you were like, okay, and you told like a 45-minute story. I was like, that was the most complicated thing I've ever freaking heard.
About 12 seconds as opposed to 5, but I
12
get
seconds. 12 seconds was a lot of seconds. So go check him out everywhere he is and stay right here if you want to hear more about that Schmoedown match that dropped, because yes, it did. Yes, it did. Oh boy. Let's talk about it, Ben. How are you feeling after that match? What was the match? How are you feeling? What happened in it? Talk to me.
Okay, so we taped this match back in February. We taped the match almost 7 weeks ago. So there's a lot that's changed. I mean, this was before the coronavirus was a thing really people in the US were even talking about. This was just it was a great match, though. Honestly, it's the highest. We set the points record in the win. The only reason we did was because the odd couple played as well as they did. I mean, you can't get 37 points if the other team doesn't get at least within 5. So 32 points in a loss is crazy. That's a crazy, crazy number. Drew and I set the points record with 31 points in 2017. Right. So that was insane. There's a very controversial call that everyone seems to be talking about on Twitter and on the rundown and on the comments.
Two controversial things of the match.
Yeah. Well, one of them, it makes a little more sense because it's just sort of an eerie part of it. The other one is like a actual call, like a call that is wrong or contested by people. But the match itself was exciting. It was great. It felt really good for me because this was before Atlanta. We taped it, which is why Finstock is carrying the belt, not Dan or myself.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. Mm-hmm. But it felt really good for me, obviously, before Atlanta to play that well, but then to have this air as my next match after Atlanta, because it was such a close match in Atlanta. I was one question away from retaining the belt. To then go in and have a perfect game or not miss any questions was really where I want to be right now as a player.
Ironically, I believe before we shot this, you and I were talking about how if you spin spinner's choice and somebody else spins opponent's choice and you still do not win as an individual or as a team or whatever league you're in, then you're not strategically playing the game well enough.
Then you're doing it wrong. And what's amazing about that, what you're saying is, so we had put Star Wars on the wheel. I'll admit that because especially now it's not going to be available anymore to do with Christian's new rule. Our theory was that Draco and Snyder would not be good at Star Wars. We just that was calculated.
Fairest theory I've ever heard, because when we spun opponent's choice and you guys gave us Star Wars, you can hear me say, oh, like it was such a gut sinking moment. I was really, really nervous.
We talk a lot about how now in this day and age with Schmoedown at the highest level, at the elite level, like the Odd Couple and Who's the Boss, or players and our factions, you can't really get away with anymore just being like, yeah, I'm just classically good at movie release dates and Oscars. I'll put them on every wheel. Mm-hmm. That's just not going to work anymore. You become pigeonholed. People study your strengths. You don't ever you need to keep people guessing. So in this match, Riley and I were like, okay, that seems like a really clever angle to take. And I was shocked that at the end of an opponent's choice spin, you guys are winning by 8 points. That's an astounding second round. I don't know how you guys did it.
It was crazy. It was really wild. I was so proud of them. And for anybody who says that because I saw some comments being like, see, they didn't stick in it. Their heads, they didn't stick in it. And every question they knew the answer to, they said that was not a situation in which they did not hang in. And I was so impressed with them that round. I mean, holy shit, impressed with them. That was crazy. Crazy.
It was insane. It was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in a match. And my mind was absolutely blown. I mean, we thought we had it. We were 1 point off of, one question off of the perfect round. So were you guys in round one. I mean, Riley misses the single question and we go into round two thinking, we got this. And here you guys are. It was insane. So then we get Pixar. We do pretty well with it. We go to multiple choice a couple times. It was an interesting Pixar category. I thought like there was only one question in the entire Pixar category that was, in my opinion, obvious. And that was the composer question of all questions. Who composed the score to Up? And because that feels, Michael, he did so many, and it's also like a very famous score, but honestly, all the rest of them, the name of the program, the name of the chef, the name of the ship, what was the present, they were all legitimately difficult questions that you would not know unless you'd seen the movies. So the fact that we got 10 points in the category, I thought was pretty good.
Yeah, that you guys did. There were some challenging questions, I will say. But it was a good showing by you guys still. And then, speaking of the two events that you're talking about, the more controversial ones, the first one obviously being what starts our match off, you still stand on the other side of this, yeah?
Well, yeah, and even more so now after rewatching it, because he doesn't say Elba. He literally says Alba. He hears three people say Elba. He writes an A and he verbally says Alba. That would be so the difference is if he spelled Elba like A-H, still correct. Two E's or something, still correct. If he says Alba and writes Alba, that's not Elba. That's a different name. After hearing three people say Elba. So that's just.
That's not what it sounds like when I listen to it.
It'd be like Humphrey Bogart versus Humphrey Bogart.
I don't agree because of, and you talk about precedent, but I talk about precedent. I don't agree, but luckily it wasn't the thing that decided the match.
Yeah.
So it's so funny because when you're in those moments, it feels like it's going to be the thing that decided the match when ultimately it didn't matter. It truthfully didn't matter. And it could have, but it didn't.
And it's funny because it psychs out Draco, but it kind of psychs out me. Because it's really tense throughout the whole match, the rest of the match. And I'm having a really hard time letting it go. People in the comments are like, oh, Bateman living rent-free in the Odd Couple's head. And it's like, Draco was upset. So was I. that didn't really help us either.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that just if we're going to play like that, here's the truth. We need to do it all the time. There's just been inconsistencies and people have different accents. And also, sometimes you can see what they've written and sometimes you can't. The way that you and Riley were holding your boards, we were unable to see. The judges could see. I mean, the people on the desk could see, but the contestants cannot see what you guys have written. You guys can see what they have written. Riley has the most atrocious handwriting of anybody I've ever seen. If he wrote an A or an E, you wouldn't be able to tell the goddamn difference for most of his things. Yeah. So it's unless we start doing this computerized or something, it's just, there's so much room for error there because I get that Geppetto can be spelled one way but when you sound it out, it's a different way. But also with people's accents, what if somebody says Geppetto or Geppetto? Like, how are you gonna? It's just, to me, so slight. It's not like there's another actress named Idris Alba or whatever. But we need to stand by the same rules.
Well,
and we haven't really done that always.
By and large, we have, right? Like, but I would say 90% of the time we have. In fact, in the case, one of the ones that gets brought up a lot is David O. Russell, and Rocco will argue that it was David O. Russell because there was an apostrophe, and I've read Brian Lee O'Malley, the writer of Scott Pilgrim, and I say Brian Lee O'Malley, not Brian Lee O'Malley. It's just, because that's how I read it. There's an O and an M, and you can say it how you want to say it. The punctuation has nothing to do with it, right? Like, that's the thing, is that when we talked about it after the match, initially my thought was Idris Elba. That could be an A. Idris Elba. That could be an A.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but when I listened back,
I have to listen to it again because that's not what I'm hearing, but everybody in here says that's what they hear.
Yeah, when I rewatched it, when it posted, he says Alba, which is Jessica Alba. That's a different actor.
No, Jessica Alba, honey.
Alba or Alba, but I mean, it's an A is the point, however you pronounce the A. So anyway, that's the one thing.
See what you just did, though? Things can be pronounced differently.
They're both A's, though. Soft A, hard A.
Yeah, but E and A have made the same sound for other words.
So it didn't matter the match. In fact, the only reason we were able to set the point record was because he got the point.
Yeah. And then there was the thing about the 5-point question, which both at the time was an issue, but now is less of an issue and more of a wow. That's creepy.
It's creepy.
So that being said, we already said that we shot this in February, where obviously Corona was not even really on our radars at the time. I mean, it was on our radars. We knew it was happening overseas,
China,
but not here.
It hadn't spread beyond China, and I think so when the question gets asked, and again, this is pretty open, so I think we can just talk about it, but PJ Campbell writes all the questions, and his defense of the question is that in 2011, Rise of the Planet of the Apes came out. And Rise of the Planet of the Apes, other than the name of the virus, has the same description as the question. It's literally the exact same movie description. It's just the MEV1 virus is the one from Contagion. So now, if that's the defense, then the answer to the question should have been Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and he should have changed it from MEV1 to whatever the one from the Apes question is. And then you would guess Contagion, and you'd be wrong. However, that's also a tricky question because that's not how you would really describe that movie.
Planet of the Apes, no way.
Even though it's correct if you say the name of the virus. So Contagion, it feels like the most obvious answer in the world. It definitely feels like it's somewhere in the could be a 3, could be a 5-point question range. It also feels like it could be around 1 question. Sometimes, like,
it doesn't feel like a 5-point question by any means.
Yeah. It's that movie. All I can say about
especially in comparison to our 5-point question, they were not equal. But it was not as easy in February as it would be today to get the answer to that. Obviously,
yeah, definitely. And I also think like there are some movies that just because they have famous actors are not prominent. That movie, I said this to Andrew the other day, has a ton of actors that he and I both love. It's directed by Steven Soderbergh, and it's released in the last decade. We've done a show for 5 years together. Contagion has never come up one single time in 5 years. So it's not really a very prominent movie, but it is a movie that people know. So it just feels right now like that's a 0-pointer because it's the only movie anyone's talking about.
Yeah. Interesting. Billy Belford says a 5-point question is what is the virus in Contagion? I mean, that would be really hard, but
that's a 25-point question.
I would be okay with it being a 5-point question if the other 5-point question was as equally as challenging. That's how I felt about your match against Dan as well. They just have to match.
Yeah,
as much as you can.
I said this on Backstage, and I'll say it again, and it's an unpopular opinion. And if Christian is listening, this is exactly how I feel about it. Go look at the stats, the historical stats. I urge Janice to do this at some point. If you took every single incorrectly answered question in the history of the Schmoedown, I would argue that almost 90% of them are plot-based questions. Almost all of them. Yeah. You can pretty much guarantee, if you want a high likelihood of somebody to lose a match, put a plot-based question as the 5-pointer. And if you want someone to win a match, ask them to name the name of a movie, a co-star, or the director. It's that simple. So like it shouldn't be a magic box, as he says, because all you're doing is giving an undefined advantage to whoever has to answer the harder question. The name of the movie is kind of easy.
At the end of the day, though, I understand what he's saying. And truthfully, it is a game. It's the way of the game. I'm so proud of my guys for how they fought in this. I mean, to not be blown out by you guys with the circumstances of getting Star Wars is unbelievable.
Incredible.
And, people were saying, are you going to trade the Odd Couple? I mean, I've just made my stance so ultimately clear on that I think they're incredible. And no. So there's that. We have run so far over. So just quickly looking at some of these super chats. Got to take off. Have a great night. Thank you, Larry Lee.
Thanks, Larry.
It's funny that you said night because it's 2:00 here. Katie Robinson says, huge respect to you both for the nuance around the Louis C.K. convo. Personally, I'll give my dollars and time to up and coming comics who understand consent. Katie, I think it's always nice to give your dollars to people who understand consent. So totally agree with you on that comment as well. Far as Mutana, or as you call him, Meow Thana, what heartless human are you, Ben? The Sandlot is an American treasure, you heathen. Who are you, man? Jeez.
I know that category. When I say that I dislike those movies, I'm telling you, I could list 15 of them, and people are like, they always have the same response that I don't like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or Harry the Spy or Indian in the Cupboard or Jumanji or any of these movies.
Those are all like some of my favorites. Oh,
Matilda, like these movies from the 90s.
You've seen all of them?
Every single one of those I saw as a kid, and the reason I would get questions wrong is I haven't seen them since I was like 7.
That's crazy. They're all so good. Matilda, so good. Harry the Spy, so good. All right, we're getting out of here. Ben has crappy taste, but other than that, he's a pretty great guy, so you should follow him everywhere he is. He'll keep you posted on what he's doing at Ben Bateman Media.
Thank you.
I know that you're trying to grow that IG life.
Please.
You got to start posting a little more. And one more time, where and when they can find your shows that you're streaming right now.
Yes, you guys can find me at Ben Bateman Media everywhere. As she said, you can find our brand new show, The Greatest Movie Ever Made. It's going to be tonight, 5 p.m. on youtube.com/Action Industries. And if you want any of the cool behind the scenes stuff. So actually, we're doing an exclusive behind the scenes of The Odd Couple, Who's the Boss match. We've been doing it since 2017. It is only for patrons. We will never release them publicly. And it is information that we don't, because we kind of break the kayfabe wall a little bit, we don't like it to get out there. So if you are a patron, you'll get it. If you want to hear the sort of true behind the scenes, how I was feeling, some of the stuff that you didn't see on screen, go sign up, become a patron. That should be up like today or tomorrow, actually, at patreon.com/Team Action.
Well, I know you guys give some of the gritty details in there. Just be kind to my boys. They deserve your love and respect.
I forgot to say, tomorrow night on The Action, guys, we have Dan Murrell coming on. For the first time ever, he's going to talk about, we're hoping he's going to talk about the time he played Andrew Guy, which is the biggest upset in the history of the Schmoedown. So he's coming on to talk about.
He is the best guest. He is so generous. I know you guys loved him when he came on here, so make sure you guys check that out. Definitely, let's flood that stream, show your support. We're all struggling during this weird ass time, and just by showing up, even if you cannot financially give, just by having the people in there, there's power in numbers. So make sure that you go over there and check that out. Tomorrow night, you said at 5.
Yeah, on 5:30.
5:30. PLD says, my takeaway is that Ben doesn't like kids. This is why we are Team Guy. I feel you on that. All right, guys, getting out of here. Tomorrow, Janine the Machine is coming on the show. If you're in the $10 Patreon tier, then you will be able to ask her a question. I'll post that later tonight. And one more time, Monday is Ellis. And Thursday is Snyder himself. So we'll be talking more about that match with him. You guys are the absolute best. Thank you for showing me all the support in the world. And thank you for putting your well wishes out there for Papo. I'm so glad we were able to bring him home. And you guys were putting amazing energy out into the universe. So I appreciate that. Round of applause at home for Ben Bateman.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks, Rox.
I like that finger gun. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, 1 p.m. With Janine. Yay.
Bye, everybody.